Leadership for me is the confluence of your vision and your values at the same time as you have the confluence of what you say and what you do. So a great leader is able to establish a vision for the institution that they're responsible for, and they also have a set of values that they can profess and that they live by every day. A leader who is not great is missing any one of those. So they don't have a vision for the organization, so people don't know where we're going. They don't have a set of clear values, or they say something different from what they do. That's leadership for me. One example of a leader I really admire is Dick Parsons. Dick Parsons was the CEO of Time Warner, and he took responsibility for that organization shortly after the debacle that was the AOL Time Warner transaction that took place in 2001. For those who have not followed that, that was probably the worst merger in corporate history. And Dick actually did a remarkable job of taking that organization from instability to stability. He also followed that up by taking on responsibility for Citigroup after the 2008 financial crisis and the LA Clippers after some horrible racist incidents that took place with regard to that organization. So that is a person who time and time again was able to establish tremendous leadership in the face of adversity and an organization that desperately needed someone like him. One of the things, and perhaps the most important thing, that Dick Parsons taught me was the importance of empathy in a leader. Most people think that the way that you get ahead in business is by being the person who comes up with a better answer. It wasn't that way with Dick. For Dick, it was about helping ensure that the people around him understood their importance and they felt valued, and that he was surrounding himself by the very best people. Treating people with empathy is something that I value at least as much, if not more, than getting to the right answer. As a leader, when you try to surround yourself by great people, that doesn't mean that everyone needs to be great in your own image. In fact, it's quite the contrary. A great team actually has people who are very different from each other. So what I want are people who are absolutely world-class in their respective disciplines and who bring fundamentally different backgrounds and experiences and perspectives to the table. That's what allows us to get to better answers. That's what allows us to develop products that are relevant, not just to people like myself, but to a wide range of people. It's also what allows us to avoid making, in some cases, colossal mistakes, because we're actually talking to people who don't just answer the question of why we should do something, but they're the kinds of people who ask and answer what could go wrong here, or where have I seen this go wrong before? Another thing that I try to live by is life is too short to work with jerks. Now, you don't always have control over that, but you always have control over yourself. And so you should always ensure that you aren't one of those. And then you should try to do what you can to make sure that if you have the opportunity to be a manager or a leader of a team, to be able to encourage people to behave in a way that ensures that the workplace isn't just productive, the workplace is also fun and a place where you treat the team treats itself with respect. We spend more hours of our lives during our productive years at work than we do doing anything else, whether it's spending time with our families or our friends or even sleeping for that matter. And so it's essential that we try to create a work environment that will have us look back on that time that we spent in our life in a very positive way. And so I view that as an important role for a leader to play. I am really proud of the array of services that we created at Apple, not because they're successful businesses, although by and large they are successful businesses, but because there was a higher purpose for all of them. When you look at something, for example, like Apple News and Apple News Plus, this isn't just a news service, right? We viewed ourselves as playing a fundamental role in preserving and perpetuating democracy. In a world where more and more consumers were being subjected to living in an echo chamber due to algorithms that feed you what you want to hear as opposed to what you need to hear, we had human editors making the decisions about what articles were important for us to have a national conversation about. The first thing I would do is just let them know that the education that they're getting at Yale Law School is going to be valuable no matter what they choose to do. So it's okay, whatever path you choose. I would then listen to that person first and foremost and take the time to understand what their goals are to the extent they know. In many cases, you don't know, and that's okay too. And then I would simply encourage them to spend the majority of their energies on the amazing law education that you have here, but try, let's say, for one course per semester to do something that was interdisciplinary, and to try to make sure that they have at least one activity that they're engaged in that extends beyond the traditional definition of what we think of as a law school extracurricular. And that should be sufficient. You don't need to overdo it, but it's nice to have some interdisciplinary and extracurricular opportunities to round out your education. For me, the experience that I had at Yale Law School was something that I really wouldn't change, and I wouldn't trade it in for any other opportunity. I served as a TA for civil procedure, even though I knew I wasn't going to be a lawyer, because it was an opportunity to be able to learn a piece of the law, a part of the law, really well. I served in the prison clinic because I knew that my time at Yale Law School was likely to be the pinnacle of my legal career, and I wanted to have every possible opportunity to actually be able to practice. I wrote a book about prisoners' rights because I wanted to leave something behind for the legal community, knowing that I wouldn't be a part of it in the future. And all of those opportunities and all of the amazing professors and classes that I had have left an indelible mark on my life because I lived Yale Law School to the fullest, even though I knew I wasn't going to be a lawyer. Live Yale Law School to the fullest. It is a unique opportunity to have 3 years surrounded by people who are as passionate and as committed and as expert in their respective fields of the law as any opportunity you will have in your life.